Welcome back to this episode of Water Polo Wednesday. We are in the final week of the NC2A men's regular season with a few key games remaining to decide the standings in a number of conferences. We've got some live stream updates so that you don't miss a thing going forward, a Bob Nealy Memorial Cup update, and of course, we've got a great guest this week from the US Naval Academy. All that, a ton more. Let's get this thing started on this very special Veterans Day episode of Water Polo Wednesday.
Welcome back, everyone, every single one of you, to Water Polo Wednesdays with Wes and Clay. You're Wes.
You're Clay.
And now, if you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure to like it. What is it? It's like a follow. It's a follow. It's something on
Subscribe.
Spotify. Subscribe.
Yeah,
I don't know if you subscribe on. Anyway, YouTube, you definitely subscribe, like it, hit the bell icon if there is one. I don't think you can comment on our YouTube channel right now, but do send us an email, waterpolowednesday@gmail.com. Now, before we dive into the weekend results, you, Wes, have had quite the weekend. Talk to us about what went on a bit. I say that as if you don't have quite a week.
Exciting.
So,
quite a
right.
week.
So it's just, that is the week. So let us have it.
Yeah, what a week indeed. A ton of gratitude, Clay. I think you and I talked about this. Just so grateful for the community, the water polo community in general. There was a Wall Street Journal reporter that reached out to us. He did a nice piece on the Fordham, which was inspired by our podcast a few weeks ago when the head coach Brian Bacharach was on our show. Yeah. Jason Gay, who is an award-winning sports columnist for the Wall Street Journal, touched base with us. We got a nice quote there. So a lot of praise for that. And the response has been just unbelievable. Additionally, we published a nice article on overnight, which we'll include the link to the overnight and the Wall Street Journal article in our description. And we just kind of broke down the pitfalls of scheduling for mid-major teams. So it's been a really special week. I can't express the amount of gratitude I have enough. And of course, was at the Stanford Santa Clara and Stanford UCSD games this weekend and was broadcasting from the deck, and just the parents of the players, the fans. It's been amazing. And so the feedback has been so wonderful. It really makes us feel like we're doing something good here. So we'll keep going. It's been really wonderful. We love to continue to help this sport in any way possible. For those of you who know us very personally, we love this sport a ton, and that's why we do it. So thank you for everybody. And it's been an unbelievable week, Clay. Pretty amazing, a real special week in our lives, in our 40 years of existence.
Amen. I'm almost there. I'm right behind you. It is so special. What a wonderful opportunity for not just the players, the coaches, or people that have played water polo, but just like the generic public, parents, right? Coming up to you and saying, we love your podcast. And again, if anyone listening, when people reach out to us and say, by the way, like, great job on the podcast, love it, keep it up. Like, that really brings us a lot of emotion, positive emotion.
Joy.
And I think you call it joy. And it really keeps this project going. Like, we didn't really know how long we could keep this up for, and it's all of your affirmations that makes us say to ourselves, I guess let's keep doing it. So thank you again. It's really a special thing to give back to our small and amazing sport.
Yeah, and in continuation of growing the sport, Clay, I want to talk about, before we get into the collegiate stuff, which we've got a nice segment today on that, I want to talk about the Bob Nealy Memorial Cup coming up in the men's water polo space. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but give us a brief kind of overview and some of the deadlines. I know we're coming up on those pretty quick.
Absolutely. So we talked about it before. The Bob Nealy Memorial Cup is the single largest club-hosted men's and women's water polo event in the country, Masters, and it's our 8th year now. And the Los Angeles Athletic Club men's water polo team hosts this tournament, and we are thrilled for this upcoming edition. Signups close on November 17th. So you have through Sunday, November 17th to sign up. We're coming up on that date right now. We're so thrilled for all the teams that have registered already. If you're thinking about it or getting close, please do that. Or if you're getting close and you might need a little bit more time, just give us a heads up. We'll work with you. So the tournament is the same weekend as NC2A's, the second weekend of December. which is December 7th and 8th this year in Irvine, California.
That's right. And this tournament near and dear to our hearts. We started this tournament back in 2016 together in memory of my first water polo coach, Bob Nealy. All the proceeds go to charity, lymphoma cancer research, and the LA Water Polo Foundation to support the growth of men's and women's water polo in Southern California. And, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, really looking forward to it. This should be the biggest one again yet. We've done ourselves in every single year with a ton of teams from all over North America, East, West Coast, and even a team from Canada. This is their third year. My boys, Vancouver Masters, trained with them a couple times over at UBC. Shout out to Bob and Dan. Our full space is limited, so do be sure to get your signups in as soon as possible to ensure your spot. It should be an amazing event, and we cannot wait to see everyone on the pool deck.
Awesome. Cool. So from here, Clay, where we want to go?
Well, let's go into results. Little diagram slide, no? Right? Is that where we're going?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. The weekend results. Here we go. Weekend results. We'll dive right in here. UOP beat Santa Clara 13-5 on Friday. San Jose State drops a tough one to Pepperdine. Conference game there that had some implications to standings. Pepperdine, one of two teams undefeated in their conference. Long Beach, a lost in overtime thriller to Santa Barbara. Good on Santa Barbara, have a late season win, but bummer for Long Beach. That's a tough loss for them. Again, hurting that conference positioning. We'll get into where people are at in their conference here in a minute. UCSD beat Davis. That's a big win. It secures the second place seed in their conference of 6 teams, which means they guarantee themselves a first round bye with that win. Santa Clara lost to Stanford on Saturday. Then UCSD lost to Stanford on Sunday. UCSB then dropped to USC. USC, I think, was up 7-1 at the end of the first quarter and just kind of cruised from there. San Jose State put a hurt on LMU. Again, another conference game there. Pacific beat CBU. That game was very close till about 2 minutes into the fourth quarter. And Pacific kind of just...
You're going to say into the first quarter.
No, fourth quarter. That was a very good game. Like a very good game. Yeah. And Princeton beat Harvard, which is that's a big one for them. They lost to Harvard in conference play earlier this year. And so they actually will then get the 1 seed going into their conference tournament, which not yet done. There's a couple more games there. Yeah. I'm going to switch screens, though, to a different slide. I want to walk through, if it's okay with you, Clay. Here we go. So the UCI has locked up the number 1 seed in the Big West, regardless of what happens this week. San Diego, the number 2 seed. And so this is what it'll shake out to be. And you'll have Davis play Fullerton, Santa Barbara play Long Beach State again. So that win is big, right? So now a little confidence for Santa Barbara going in against Long Beach. San Diego and UCI receiving the byes there in that conference. On the other side, in the WCC, and this gets very interesting, and we'll talk about this in a second. We've got there it is. Okay. So the WCC, Pacific and Pepperdine are undefeated in conference play, which is pretty rare. You got 2 teams with their last game against each other coming in undefeated in the last, right? So this is big here. The winner of this game between these 2 teams gets a bye. So because there's 7 teams in this conference, 1 team gets a bye versus the Big West where there are 6 teams and 2 teams get a bye. So this is huge for Pacific and Pepperdine. We'll break down Pepperdine later, but we know how good Pacific is. Additionally, CBU plays San Jose State. Now, this is a big deal. CBU needs to win that game. If CBU loses, San Jose State's going to jump them, and third place gets second place. So if they win this game, their semifinal would be against the loser of these 2. That's a big deal. Right? It's just easier to play the second place team typically than it is the first place team in your semifinal round. Right? And so really excited for that Cal Baptist and San Jose State match this week and the Pepperdine Pacific match this week. And so that's the WCC. Now, guys, for everybody watching, next week we're going to release 5 different episodes. We are going to do a conference breakdown on all 5 major conferences in the United States. now that when the seedings are finally set going into it, we're going to have guests from every single conference joining us, one for each episode. And so we'll be able to talk to them about how they're preparing and going into it. Finally, and we'll look at this as the last chart here, is the MPSF standings. Now, these are also set. Okay, nothing is going to change despite there being games this weekend. UCLA takes on USC down in Southern California. Stanford and Cal play in the Big Splash on Friday night at 6 p.m. I'll be on the call for that game. You got to believe that Cal is really going to, like, this is meaningful. There's a pride piece here. Stanford lost to Cal. It would really hurt their at-large potential if they lose to Cal again, given that Cal is not in the top 5 right now. I mean, I think they're 7th or 8th. And Cal is sitting here going, hey, we need some momentum going into the MPSF tournament because the only way that they're going to make NC2As is by winning the MPSF tournament. You got to believe this has some meaning to them, and it's a rivalry game. Big Splash, senior night, 6 p.m., Stanford, streamed on overnight. Guys, this is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to have a hard time containing myself. I've already been told by our producers, don't drink a Red Bull that day. You're going to be excited enough. So be sure to come out and check that out if you're in the area. It's going to be a ton of fun.
Just have one after. So what time is the game at again?
6 p.m. The Cal-Stanford game's at 6 p.m. on Friday night at Stanford. Get there early. It's always crowded. It's always loud. It should be a beautiful Friday night.
And it is streaming on overnight?
It is streaming on overnight. All MPSF games are streamed on overnight. So that USC-UCLA game, which is Saturday at, I believe, 1 p.m., will also be streamed on overnight.
Wonderful. Mark your calendar, 6 p.m. this Friday on overnight, or go in person if you can. Be electric.
Yeah. It'd be great to see everybody there. Be sure to say hi if you do come out. It is a lot of fun. I love talking water polo. I love hearing your feedback. If there's things you want to tell us, we'd love to hear it.
Please.
Yeah.
All right. Where are we at now? We're breaking it down?
Yeah, breakdown.
Great. Let's do it. So today we are going to dive into the UCSD performance against Stanford that, again, Kading did the call on, and the San Jose State University versus Pepperdine match, which was a thriller. You were in the booth for the game at Stanford. Talk to us about what you saw out of UCSD.
So first off, I had the opportunity to see UCSD at the MPSF Invitational in that second weekend of the year in September. And I didn't know this. I was always wondering kind of why they didn't play some of the players listed on the roster. And I hadn't had a chance to catch up with Coach Usha just yet. But I did get a chance to talk to him Saturday night before the game on Sunday, and then again Sunday after. And they were hurt. They had 3 starters hurt going into that MPSF Invitational. So what we saw on Sunday was a drastically different team. They're talented. And I think that UCI, despite being undefeated, we'll get into this next week, may have their hands full. That UCSD team is peaking at the right time. They've got the leading scorer in the Big West in Landon Ackerstrom. Bennett Axline, arguably the most effective, efficient center I have seen in a long time. He drew 5 exclusions against Stanford on Sunday, and really just very impressed with the players now. They've got 3 foreigners, all seniors. Lucas Homagera is a stud of the group. He's a native of Brazil, incredibly dynamic. Then you got Ackerstrom. Those 2 work the 1-2 side really well together, as well as lead the team in goals. So, like, look, the goals are coming from the 1-2 side. Okay. Ante Busov, he's a 6'7" Croatian center defender. He comes off the bench, but man, is he strong. He posts up. This guy does the things you really want big guys to do. He defends well. He drives and posts up. Very strong, holds water, and which opens up quite a bit for UCSD against the vaunted Stanford defense. Now, the third foreigner, Felipe Ferreira, solid 4-5 right-handed attacker. I believe he leads the team in assists. Very good passer and facilitator. And with Axline in the middle, it's a formidable starting group. Very impressed with their play. Big for them to get that win against Davis. You know, they were definitely a little fatigued coming into that Stanford game. They don't necessarily have the depth that Stanford does. Stanford playing Santa Clara the day before. Different than, with all respect to Santa Clara, who I thought did a great job. Quite frankly, they came out and rattled Stanford a little bit. But different than playing Davis in a conference tournament for San Diego. So, you know, it is what it is. You got to play the games. You got to play the schedule you've got. But San Diego really impressed me. I think they're they're going to challenge UCI in that group in the Big West. I think they're a team that you got to take very seriously coming into conference play at the end of conference play here.
Yeah, you said a few of them were injured. What's the status there? Are we going to see them coming back?
They're all playing, and the difference was that they were all playing against Stanford, and versus in the first weekend of the tournament, or first month of the season, I should say. Yeah, so they're all back now. So seeing Lucas Romaguera, who's very good, Ante Busov, and Felipe Ferreira changed the dynamic of that team, added a little bit more depth, allowed for them to do some things a little bit differently.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Well, great to see UCSD on the rise like this for sure in the Big West and able to compete against teams like a Stanford, right?
Sure.
Where are they weaker, would you say, and where do they need to improve based on what you saw?
So I think, the benefit of having those guys back is offense picks up quite a bit. The detriment there is like they don't have a ton of experience. And when you don't have a ton of experience together, which they're getting, you get a little scattered on defense. They gave up 15 goals, got caught a bit out of position from time to time when Stanford was able to swing the ball. And some of their reads of like, I think my teammate's going to do this, but you're wrong. So like you do something, but you're wrong. Okay. And then San Diego would either turn the ball over or a pass would go behind somebody and Stanford would then steal and go down and score. That really ran the score up. It was a closer game than 15-10.
Without
so some of those mistakes,
errors, it's actually a much closer game.
Correct. And so when you get into a game like that, it's tough, right? Because that means you're chasing and they don't have the depth really to compete with a Stanford type. We talk about that in the article that I wrote on Overnight. But there were 30 total exclusions in this game. 11 against UCSD, 19 against Stanford. Stanford seemed to have an endless bench of players. Turns out only 2 guys on the Stanford team didn't receive an exclusion, right? If that tells you something. So even then, Stanford still had more depth. And UCSD being called for 11 exclusions hurt their depth pretty big as they were forced to play Romaguera and Ackerstrom like nearly the entire time. Now, despite Ackerstrom having a 57% shooting percentage on the season and Romaguera shooting 50% on the season, like those are big numbers. They only combined for 4 of 14 shooting against Stanford. And it just kind of calls out, one, how freaking dominant Stanford's defense is to be able to stop some of the best shooters in the country like that, keep them to 4 goals when ordinarily they'd be putting up 7 to 8 goals on 14 shots. So like, it's tough when, those guys are getting pressed out pretty hard.
Yeah. So that's 6 on 5, you hear that many, like, dang, 19 has to improve during conference play.
Improve. Yeah.
So talk to us now about Pepperdine versus San Jose. It was electric.
Yeah. So Pepperdine, San Jose that was a great game. Pep, another team that got hit with a little bit of the injury bug this year. I know John Carey was out. He's actually joining us next week. I know their center out of Greenwich, his name's Chase Wilson, I think. He was out for quite a bit. They were really rolling earlier in the season. I mean, look, they've only got 6 losses this year. So, I mean, they're a good team. They knocked off both CBU and San Jose State this weekend to improve to 5-0 in conference. They have a trio of Hungarians, Eric Ionescu, Adam Chapo, and Sandor Gal, all of whom are good scorers. But their engine is a senior man named Christian Hosea. The dude out of my man out of San Clemente High School, a Logan Powell product. Gotta love it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know he's a Logan Powell product.
He's a Logan Powell product.
So cool.
Great. This guy is giving teams absolute fits, as he has in his entire career, but I think a little more this year than ever. He's a real quiet guy. Very silent leader type, but his play is super loud. So he's the team leader in goals with 69, which is 10 more than the next highest. Chapo actually has 59. And we love Adam Chapo. For those of you who don't know, we're big fans of Adam Chapo. But here's an interesting stat. He's 3rd on the team in drawn exclusions. Christian Hosea is. He's got 43 drawn exclusions as a driver. Yeah. Man, that's like
money.
Yeah, that's money. Can you imagine
hustle.
Yeah, that's just grit.
Yeah.
Just grit. Can you imagine a field player who's going to go get you he's averaging 1.6 per game, but there are games he's drawn 7. He had 4 against Princeton, 3 against UCI earlier in the season. Man, I love watching this guy play. He's kind of a vintage driver who just torments teams. And when they played Stanford, Stanford couldn't stop him. They could not stop him. Okay, they run these zones against him, and he carved them up, right? Their defense, so love watching Christian play. Love it. It is so dynamic. You can't take your eyes off him for a second, especially if you're playing against him on defense. If you look away, he's gone, man. He is gone, and he can finish. Boy, he gets himself into good shooting positions, good angles, close to the cage. He does everything well, and he's only like 5'10". He's not a big guy. I love that. I'm not a big guy, man. I'm 6 foot in heels uphill. He is like 5'10", right? Ryder Dodd's not tall either. So we're seeing some of these shorter in stature guys just really dominate the game. You love to see it. Now, on the defensive end for them, okay, the defense is anchored by a goalie by the name of Max Smirnov, who's from Israel. A guy I actually played against in 2022. He was playing for Israel. I was playing for the US. And John Kerkeri, who's a defender for them. John will be on the show next week. Kerkeri is a very good defender for them. And Smirnov is an outstanding goalkeeper. I mean, really, as a freshman, mature beyond his years and providing immense value to that Pepperdine team.
You said that Christian was like a vintage driver. Say more.
Yeah, I mean, Clay, when we were playing, like early 2000s, it was a very horizontal game. Late 90s, early 2000s, very horizontal game, meaning we were taught to drive. It was all movement-based. That's the way the game got popular, was a lot of movement. Since 2007 or so, 6, it's been a very vertical game. So Christian plays very horizontally. Another guy that plays horizontally is Gavin West on Stanford. And what I mean by this is they move very well laterally, right? Up and down the pool. They drive left to right. They're very good over their hips. They may not be the tallest guys who accelerate the highest out of the water. They've got great legs, right? But they're not 6'9". They're not Ante Buzov at 6'7", right? Or Luka Bernatic. Just different. So they've got to be able to create advantages with what they have, and that's usually speed, quickness, and awareness. And so the Christian has all of those. He just happens to be an elite finisher as well. He moves very well without the ball. That movement without the ball is so key. And when playing, teams have adopted this zone type defense to get more hands up in front of these shooters, because these big shooters will sit outside and don't want to drive because everybody wants to score. Okay, I get that. So they play these zones and they get their hands up. How do you beat a zone? You drive. Christian is a guy that will terrorize zones. Also why, and we'll get into this later, why I think Fordham is very dangerous against teams who play a lot of zone.
Yeah, love it. And I love that Pep is rolling this year, of course. So Pepperdine, where are they vulnerable?
So this is going to be a little tough to swallow for you, Clay. I know how much you love them. First off, their 6-on-6 defense is working really well together, anchored by Max Smirnov. But their 5-man, it needs some help. They're a bit stagnant. They struggle huge to move when the ball swings. Yep. Against UCI went 8 of 11, which is 72% on man-ups against them. CBU went 6 of 8, which was 75% against them. Mind you, they only beat CBU by 1 goal. Okay, so they kind of got, that's very dangerous to be giving up 75% there. They've had better games, but those types of games cannot happen as they go into conference play. And this week, when they play Pacific, which we'll look at the upcoming games here at the end of our episode today, they got to be a bit better. And in conference play, they've got to be a bit better. If they're giving up 75% of exclusion man disadvantages, that's going to be very hard to come back from that. It's just too high of a percentage to be giving up.
Yeah, definitely. You could say that UCI and CBU had really great 6-on-5 days, and I don't know if that's the case. All right, then. So here we go. Last week of the season. Can you believe it? Last week of the season. Who do we watch out for?
Yeah, so there's only a couple of main games going on. Let me share my screen. I want to highlight these because I want to make sure everybody's got the stream information. So on Friday, 12 p.m., the weekend kicks off. You got San Jose State versus CBU. Again, that determines the 3-4 position in the WCC. ESPN Plus, 12 p.m. Then Stanford Cal on overnight. At Stanford, big splash. This doesn't have the same implications in terms of seeding, okay? But it does have implications from just a pride perspective, I think. It's a conference game. It's senior night. Like, that's going to be a very exciting game. It'll be a packed house. Saturday, UOP plays Pepperdine. That is for first place and the bye in the WCC.
It's for papers,
which
baby.
That's
go.
Right. And so potentially a preview of that WCC final. We'll break that down next week, but that's going to be a big game for them. That does have implications, big implications, right? Always important to earn that bye, especially when you're going to UOP. Okay, because remember, WCC conference tournament is at UOP. Get that bye, get comfortable, let everybody else get the, that first game jitter type of thing. And then USC, UCLA. Again, the MPSF is set, so it won't matter who wins this. But I am interested to see how UCLA's been training. If they're going to be peaking or are they focus on NC2As? Is the MPSF important to them? They're the number one team. New RPI ratings came out. They're rated number one on the RPI. It's a big deal. So they pretty much have an at-large bid locked up at minimum, like if they don't win MPSF tournament. Question is, are they going to be ready to play before NC2As, knowing that they're going to the NC2As? And so that game will be interesting. Can USC, they haven't beaten UCLA this year. I think they're 0-2. So can they come back and do something about that?
Yeah, this is a fun week. There have been a lot of fun weekends, and this is yet another one. Next up on the podcast, we have a great talk with the Kefir Black, a member of the US Naval Academy water polo team, on this Veterans Day week special.
Welcome back and welcome to the show, Kefir. Kefir Black, everyone. Kefir, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. For those of you who don't know, Kefir is a 6'7" phenom left-hander at Navy, the US Naval Academy. Kefir, you've broken like every single record ever. You were Rookie of the Year in the Mid-Atlantic Conference and all-conference first team. You're having another amazing year, man. We love that for you. So congratulations, dude, on the success you've had now in your second season at the US Naval Academy. How is it going?
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you. The year's been great. Yeah, last year coming off a pretty big high. I didn't know how well I was going to do in the college game, but super excited to be working with the guys and come back with another strong season so far.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So now talk to us about Navy water polo. I don't think a lot of people know much about the US Naval Academy and the water polo team there. What drew you to play for Navy and being part of the armed forces? I mean, look, Kefir, you had the chance to play just about anywhere you wanted to play with your athletic ability, your height, your speed. I mean, you are a cookie cutter, perfect water polo designed player. What drew you to Navy? I'm very curious. What kind of took you that direction?
Yeah, it's a funny story. My dad was in the Navy. He didn't go to the Naval Academy, but he was in the Navy. So I was kind of brought up and grew up. I have three brothers, so we kind of grew up in a Navy family. Pretty disciplined. And it's funny. I actually didn't play water polo until my freshman year of high school. I was a big lacrosse guy. That was kind of my sport religiously, kindergarten to 8th grade. And I really started playing water polo just to get out of my freshman year PE class. I had a lot of friends who played. And so they convinced me to come to one of their practices and try it out. They knew I was a lefty, so they thought it would have been a great fit.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah. And pretty much from there, I dropped lacrosse and put all my effort and put all my time into water polo and really never looked back. And then for the Navy side, yeah, again, going off my dad, I always wanted to be in the Navy and had the goal of making a career out of it or somehow getting into it. And Navy really checked all the boxes for me and has lived up to every expectation that I've looked for.
That's amazing. Thank you for that share. Tell us what is unique about Navy as a water polo program to the best of your ability, playing for Navy and going to school there.
Right. It's totally different than any other school in the country. We like to say you're not here to play water polo. You're here to become an officer in the Navy, and then you play water polo on the side. I think our team's taking that to heart. I think some of us take it a step further, and I like to really put most of my effort into water polo and do the Navy stuff and get that going. But water polo is really my main focus here, and it's what I came here to do is to play well and become a naval officer. It's really different. You have structured classes each day. You have multiple military requirements and meetings and things you have to go to each day. So really your whole day is booked from about 6 a.m. until right now it's 11:15. But every day it's 16, 18-hour days where you're going to school all day, getting a lift in at lunch, practicing in the evening, getting to the trainers, having dinner, and then finishing it off with some homework.
I'm a disciplined guy, but I'm kind of like speechless at this point because the 16, 18-hour days, even for a guy like me who's self-motivated beyond what my parents would say, probably pretty neurotic, but like that was...
Well, your friends would say that too.
Thank you, Clayton. Yeah, that's amazing, Kefir. That's absolutely amazing. Now, I'm going to pull us back a little bit to water polo. You're leading the team in both goals and assists, which is, usually you see a lefty who leads the team in assists or goals. Like, basically, you're doing it all at this point. You're arguably... No, it's not arguable. You are the best left-handed player in the United States in the NC2A right now. There's not a question in my mind. And, I mean, it's an honor for you to be here with us. Do you have Olympic aspirations or anything beyond college? Have you given that much thought?
Yeah, it's definitely in the back of my mind. I know the Olympics are coming up in a couple of years, and that's right as I'm graduating. So it's definitely been nagging me in the back of my mind of having that aspiration. I didn't grow up as a 6 or an 8-year-old wanting to go to the Olympics their whole life. It kind of came on pretty strong my senior year, playing for the national team and getting to travel with them a little bit. My coach has been talking to me a little bit about it. So it's really the next couple months where I make that decision to really pursue it or pursue a career in service to my country.
What does that look like? I mean, if you were to pursue the Olympics, it's obviously a deviation from service, which we don't want to take you away from if it's your passion, but what does that path look like for you? What decisions do you have to make? Because this is unique to the Naval Academy. Any other school outside of the armed forces, if you want to go pursue the Olympics, you can. Like, nobody's going to stop you, right?
Right. Yeah, the Navy's all for it. My coach played for the national team a while back for him, but moving into the spring and into the summer, it's full of writing up requests to get special leave on weekends and go out maybe every weekend in the spring to train with the team, and over the summer taking some of my my more Navy trainings that you do each month over the summer and committing that to water polo, and they're all for it. Okay. They love guys trying to do that. So I'm sure to have their support for it, and that's really just something that's going to come up in the next couple months, and talking to the higher ups in the Navy and talking to my coaches and seeing if I can back alley a way into it.
Well, we'd love to support you, Kefir, in any which way that we can. Of course, you're always welcome in LA, and you've been a big component of that for us, and we'd love to see your success, man. So that's very interesting. It's obviously very different than what everybody else has to go through. It has to kind of request a weekend to go play water polo is pretty unique.
Right. I think it's a big decision, and whatever one you make is going to be the right one, right? Like, we're all behind you no matter what. So back to the present. The road to a conference title runs through Fordham. You've lost to them twice this year, and you split with GW. What's the plan to take the conference title this year?
Yeah, we've been working all year. We have a bunch of new guys, hungry guys coming in. The team the last couple of years has been really dependent on last year our freshman class, and this year now our sophomore and freshman class. And we've been working towards it all year. We have no games next weekend, so we have these last 2 weeks to really tighten all the hatches and get everything ready. Fordham's a powerhouse. They put teams away like it's nothing. They go out to the West Coast and stomp their feet. So it's definitely something we're looking at. We're glad we got seeded pretty well in our conference, and we look forward to playing them on Sunday. And that's what we train for the whole year, is that one game, that one Sunday, championship Sunday, to put that team away. We like that they're undefeated. We want them to go into it feeling confident, and then we're the team to knock them off right in the end. So we're all super eager. The guys are all super excited. and I can't wait to get to that weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It won't be easy. You'll have to take on GW, right? You'll be the 3 seed there, right. and you'll have to take on GW in your semifinal. Maybe a good tune-up for you, but it sounds like you guys feel pretty confident that you're gonna take down GW and focus on Fordham there.
Yeah, we just played them this past weekend, and really figured out our offense, figured out our defense, and really balancing out and getting guys to move around. So we're feeling confident. We're ready to play.
Awesome. Talk to us. We like to ask this question. It's the last question we typically ask. Talk to us about stats. What metric that Coach Nicolau focuses on that maybe like you guys as a team, your goal? Some people talk about 6-on-5. Some people talk about, where they're shooting from. They want a certain number of shots from a certain area. What is something maybe that you guys are like, hey, we need to be this, that is important to you as a goal as a team?
Yeah, we really have two things. It's our 6-on-5, and trying to limit turnovers and limit wasted possessions on that 6-on-5, really keeping the ball dry and moving it around fast. And then not getting countered, taking smart shots, shooting the ball high, hoping to get a new shot clock. A lot of teams here, they like to counter. They like to get out early, and staying patient, waiting for under 10 seconds to get the ball in. That's really what we're focusing on. We're not super. We play how we play. Not a lot of things are going to change from now into the next 2 weeks. So we're really focusing on these small things and overall just how the team plays together and our chemistry to understand each other. That's really what we're focusing on, is doing those small things right, getting the right amount of possessions, limiting turnovers, and keeping the ball dry and putting shots away.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different question, deviating from water polo here. You grew up in a naval family. And obviously older brothers. Can imagine it was a pretty physical household, if you will. Yeah. And I'd just be curious, coming into the Navy, into the armed forces here, is there anything that surprised you? Anything you're like, I just didn't anticipate that or expect that, be it the water polo side or the Navy side? Again, we don't get an opportunity to talk to a lot of guys in your position, so I would love to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think the main thing that surprised me is the maturity of people, especially at the Naval Academy. People come in their freshman year and they've already served 3 or 4 years in the fleet, in the actual Navy, and they come in with loads of experience. My roommate last year was 23. And so coming in, we're playing guys on some of these teams that are 26 or 27, and we have 17-year-olds on our team who are playing freshmen last year, and now they're playing guys who should be out of college by a couple of years. So really just the maturity of the guys at the school. It brings everyone up. My brothers are super mature. They're twins. They're seniors in college right now. My dad's really instilled in us. He was a Navy SEAL in the Navy. So that's really where a lot of our discipline comes from, and really our grit as a family, and our motivation to do things and do them the right way. And coming into the Navy, it's the guys on the team and the midshipmen here are just the best of the best and the top in all their classes. So it's great to really strive to be the top, to be the best people at the school and be the best players, because you're going against people who have been successful and have hit all those limits their whole life, and they come here to better themselves, and you want to be that next guy up in line, and you want to get you want to be that guy and fighting for those positions in school and sports. It's a huge commitment, and it definitely takes a lot of energy and into a bunch of different facets. But yeah, the maturity of people here and the way they hold themselves and the way they hold each other accountable, whether it's in the pool or in the hall or in class, it's really inspired me.
I love that, man. Kefir, such an honor, such a pleasure. Thank you for your service. You've been very mature. I tell you that. You're very well spoken for a sophomore in college, and we're very grateful that you would take your time at 11:21 p.m. at night, knowing you've got to probably be up in 6.5 hours. So thank you, Kefir. We won't keep you any longer. Anything you'd like to close with, man? The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited for the weekend. Thank you to all the veterans and all the active duty service members for all you do. I know everyone here appreciates all the support. Go Navy and beat Army.
I love it. We'll be right back after this. Thanks, Kefir.
What an incredible incredible, special, rare opportunity that was talking to someone from Navy, learning so much. This podcast provides a lot of insights, Wes, and you really know how to line them up. But talk to us about what is upcoming with Water Polo Wednesday.
Yeah, so we are going to do a conference special next week. We will be releasing 5 separate episodes, one on Sunday, one on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. One episode for each conference. And we'll break down the conferences, the play, the format, and who to look out for. We'll also have a guest on each episode. I'll tease it a little bit. We'll have a member of the Harvard team coming on for their conference. The Mid-Atlantic will have a few players coming in from Fordham. We'll have a guest from Pepperdine for the WCC. And in the Big West, we're going to have somebody from UCI school. We haven't had anybody from. So a lot of those schools, frankly, we haven't had anybody from. And we're finalizing who's coming on from the MPSF. We got a couple of people interested, so we're working on that. We'd love for you guys to check them out. Give us some comments, feedback. Feel free to email us in if you've got any suggestions. We're wide open, and we want to keep improving as we move forward. So, Clay, this was another great episode. Pretty unbelievable. Episode 9. Every episode is record-breaking for us because they didn't think we'd get this far. But we appreciate all the commentary and feedback. Again, be sure to say hi. We'll see you guys Friday night, 6 p.m. at Stanford for the Big Splash. Don't forget it's streamed on overnight. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good night.